my name is Adam Smith and welcome to my channel. I'm a primary school teacher in London, and today's video I'm going to be talking about how I use Notion to make a really simple but really effective and powerful personal homepage. So most people think of Notion as a kind of productivity tool, as somewhere to plan, to make to-do lists. I have made videos before about how I use Notion as a teacher planner, how I use it to keep track of my reading and my note-taking, how I use it as a personal kind of knowledge base and wiki. But not many people know that because you can publish Notion's web pages, you can also use it to create a really effective and powerful personal homepage. And that's what I'm going to be showing you today. So why use Notion over other platforms? Obviously there are some pros to Notion and some cons to Notion as well. For me, the biggest pro to Notion is the fact that it's free, at least for the personal plan. So you can upgrade if you want to share files that are bigger than I think about 10 megabytes. You'll need to upgrade to a bigger plan. If you want to appear in Google search results, you need to upgrade, I think it's like $4 a month for the personal pro plan. But for me and for my uses, I don't pay for a Notion subscription. So that's a big plus for me compared to something like Squarespace. So because Notion is where most of my professional workflow goes through, I don't have to log on to a separate web page or go through a complicated editing process to change the pages. A lot of the time, because the pages are linked to my workflow, it's quite a natural part of the process to update the website. So if I finish a new blog post or a new video, part of the workflow that I've set up in Notion is a reminder or a tick box to update that on the public parts of my Notion setup. It's also really flexible. So Notion is an incredibly powerful tool. It's got some really amazing APIs. It's got some amazing functions going on at the moment. I don't probably use 99% of the functions on Notion, but I found that for the use cases that I have, so I use it as a place to keep resources that I share. I've moved my blog over from WordPress to Notion. I've used it as a place to keep my videos and my podcast in one place and to provide external links. For all those use cases, Notion is great, it's brilliant. I can embed YouTube videos, podcast links, I can do all sorts of things, and I'll show you that on my page in just a little bit. It's also got a really attractive and simple design. I know that Notion can be a little bit Marmite for people. Some people, and I'm sure you can find this elsewhere on YouTube and on Reddit, take the personalization aspect of Notion really far, put lots of visual imagery into it. But as you'll see, my webpage is really simple and straightforward. It looks like a Notion page. It looks like some of the pages that I use for my own kind of workflow internally. And I like that. I like the fact that it looks kind of clean and simple and simplistic. I like the fact that there's a certain hierarchy to it. So I think actually that might be one of the cons of Notion, is that the page hierarchy isn't so obvious. You need to be a bit creative with call outs and headings to make sure that your page doesn't just look like kind of a page of a text or a database. So I'll show you how I've overcome some of that on my webpage, but I think that there's a lot of tweaking and things that you can be doing on your webpage as well. And then of course there's a few cons to consider as well. Probably the biggest con for me is the fact that there, as far as I know, are no analytics attached to Notion. So I quite liked when I had my blog on WordPress, I could see how many people were visiting that blog. Obviously if people click through to like the anchor page for my podcast, I can still see those. But there's no easy way to see when you get big bumps in people visiting the website. There's no easy way to see which pages are attractive and which aren't. So if you're someone who really likes analytics and likes to use them to inform their kind of future planning, then Notion might not be the tool for you. And then also it's not a fully featured web design platform. So it's not designed necessarily to be a public facing website. It is designed as a productivity tool. So you'll see that I've managed to kind of piece things together to do what I need it to do. I've been using Notion for over a year now, so I have some experience in those areas. And I suppose that's really the third con as well, is that it's with anything with Notion, there's a really steep learning curve. So when I first started, I plowed a lot of time into creating my Notion setup. I still spend time tinkering and fiddling, but now that I'm experienced with it, I feel really comfortable with it. But it did take time. It was like a difficult process at the beginning, trying to work out how things work. So what are some of the use cases for Notion? Well, as you'll see, the use case that I have is as a professional kind of homepage. So I find that I mostly communicate with people, other teachers, through Twitter, and I wanted somewhere that was a bit less ephemeral than that, a bit more permanent, somewhere to kind of almost have my brain in one place so that I wasn't constantly searching through old tweets and threads to find things. I also had a blog on WordPress, and I really like the way that Notion gives you options for formatting blog posts, so I've moved that over. And then also I wanted somewhere to just keep my resources. So as long as they're below this kind of limit that Notion, the free plan has, I use it to upload PDFs and docs that I share with people. And I'll show you some of that in a minute. Some of the other kind of use cases for it, I guess, would be creating your own personal wiki or company homepage with lots of information on it, doing FAQs. You could also use it to link through to other sites. So I link through to my Twitter, and I link through to some other projects that I've worked on elsewhere on the web. But you could use it to link through to a Patreon, to actually I've got a YouTube. I've just today integrated my YouTube videos into here, so you can link through from there. I think also you can make it a lot more visual than I've made it, so you can include photography and illustration. And if you're into design, you know, there's a lot you can do. You'll notice that I use the default emojis as part of my design, but you can create your own icon sets and make it look really stunning. So I'd recommend, if you're interested in that design element, I think the Notion page on Reddit is a really good place to go and look, and they've got some incredible personalized templates that you can take and use and borrow. So let's take a look at my homepage. What you'll notice is this is what it looks like in Safari. So it's basically the same as what it looks like in the Notion app, what it looks like on your phone. Notion is really good at optimizing these websites for devices. So this looks really great on your iPhone. It looks really simplistic. It looks good on my Mac, and it looks good on my iPad, and I really like that about Notion. Let's open it up in Notion. And you can see the structure a bit better if we look here on the left hand side. You'll see that some of these pages have, like for example, this link through to my blog. That's a direct page link. So in the hierarchy, it's here, it's directly underneath that. When you publish something on Notion, everything beneath that in the page hierarchy becomes public. So you need to be really careful. If you are going to go about publishing your homepage, you need to make sure that everything that appears under that hierarchy is something that you want publicly available. If I was to publish my daily planner page, I would end up publishing my to-do list, my databases, my personal notes, lots of personal information that I keep on there, financial information. So you need to make sure you're being really careful about what you publish. Fortunately, you can't go up and accidentally publish something else, but you definitely want to make sure that everything that appears here underneath my homepage, all of that is stuff you want published. So the things like my blog homepage, these YouTube channels, they are direct pages under there, but also where you see there's a little arrow appear next to something. So for example, here on a project that I worked on, the Great Subject Knowledge Compendium, if I click through to that, this is actually in my professional development page, which is not publicly shared, but because I've created a link through, because I've linked it to a page, it is now visible to everyone. So again, everything under that hierarchy is now visible. So these pages with notes and things in them, if there were any sub pages underneath these would be visible to people too. So just something to bear in mind about what you're doing. So if we go back to my homepage, you'll see, for example, then something like, oh, we'll get rid of this duplicate that I made when I was making this. This is a resource page. So each of these links through to a document that you can download here, download file. I can add notes in here if I wanted to, but I've included an image. These are knowledge organizers for the RE GCSE that I used to teach, so people can go and download those. It used to be on a blog page that I had, but I like having them all centrally in one place here. What else? I've got a link through to my CPD notes. I've made videos about this previously, and I'll talk about this again in the future, but I like to share the notes that I make so that people can see kind of what I've been reading and take what they want to from that. So these link through, and again, I'm sharing everything under that hierarchy. So these documents that I've uploaded as part of my CPD notes, they are now available in the public domain, so you need to be a little bit careful with that. Going back to the homepage, those are the kind of resources that I wanted to share. A link through to my Twitter there, and then the blog. So this is the blog homepage. I haven't uploaded all of my previous blogs because I just wanted to keep it quite fresh and quite recent. But I really love how they look. I think they look really, really nice in Notion. So let's have a look at my most recent blog post here. I've used the serif font, which you change up here in the right hand corner. You can change default serif mono. I've used the serif font because I think that looks really good for the blog. And the headings, I mean, that's not a terribly exciting one. Let's look at this one where I used headings a bit more. You've got a call out, you've got a table of contents. I can include images and quotes. If you know Markdown, like I do, it makes this a really quick editing and writing process. And yeah, like I say, I think they look great. The only thing I miss is the ability to comment on these. So I might look in and see whether there's a way to do it. Obviously you could comment through the Notion system, but I think you would have to have an account to do that. And a lot of people who are reading these posts won't have a Notion account. So I want to think about a way that which we could still have comments going on, maybe a link through to the Twitter that I originally posted that on so that people can comment beneath that, I don't know. So the blog, yeah, I think the blog looks really great. And I think this is a really good platform for writing short things. Like you might write on Medium or WordPress, it can go here on your blog. If you have some sort of newsletter, then maybe you could send it out by email, but also have it available on your Notion page for people to look at and share around. My YouTube channel, so I've got the videos here embedded. So to embed a video in Notion, you just type /video, and then it's really easy and straightforward. You can embed videos into there. You can also embed images. You can embed documents, so you can have PDFs or .doc files appear in web pages, and it's really simple. It just play the video. You can also click through, obviously, to look at my channel if you wanted to subscribe, which obviously I would suggest you probably do want to do. And then my podcast as well. So I actually host my podcast on Anchor, which is a really good platform for me. It puts it on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and all over. But I wanted to create somewhere that I could just be like, oh yeah, I have this podcast, here's a link to kind of a homepage for it. So that's what this is. And you can see each episode has a description, it has some show notes, and also I've been able to embed the link so people can actually listen to it directly from my webpage, or they can click through to Anchor and see all the different ways in which you can subscribe to it. Finally, I have some links to some projects I've worked on elsewhere, and I keep these updated, so when I publish something elsewhere or when I work on a new project, I like to include it here and make sure that it's linked through. And yeah, that's it. That's the really simple homepage. It's kind of looks simple, but actually it's got everything on it that I wanted to share. Okay, so how could you create something that looks like this? Well, I think the first thing to do and to be sure of is to make sure that you keep this quite separate from the rest of your Notion setup, because I will reiterate again, anything you publish in this hierarchy is then available. So I have my planner, my schoolwork, my knowledge base, but also I have this web page as a completely separate top level hierarchy. I have actually created, so if you go to the link below, which is this homepage, which is really handy, and click on Notion templates, I will eventually put more templates up here for when I'm creating other videos, but I've created a personal homepage template based on my homepage. And you can copy this onto your own Notion and use this as the basis for creating your own homepage. I know some of you are going to be way more creative than I am. This is really simplistic and you're going to turn your noses up at this, but I want you to have a go and have a try and have a fiddle around and a tweak. I want to see what it comes out as. Here you've got like the blog post that I just showed you that you can use as a basis, a sample podcast page, a resource page, and I hope that's useful. Obviously, if you're going to add sub pages to this, it's the same as any other Notion page. So you're just going to go here and click and add a new page. And you have all that flexibility that Notion provides. So you could create a table, you could create a database, a timeline, you could integrate other templates. One thing that I'm working on at the moment is a reading list, because I want kind of to move away from Goodreads, that I don't really use that consistently, to have a reading list that's available where people can see what books I'm reading at the moment and the progress I've made, and link it through with some notes and some thoughts, maybe do some Readwise integration. So that's kind of my next step on this project. I'd love to hear in the comments below any ideas for how I could use this more effectively or what I could be doing. I hope it's been helpful for you to have to think about how you can use Notion in this way. It's probably one of the underutilized kind of options that Notion has to publish pages and make them publicly available, but do have a go and also post any templates that you have or any work that you have in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. Please don't forget to like the video, subscribe. This is a new channel, a new project for me. I'm kind of bringing it back to life after a little hiatus because my professional life got really busy. So yeah, I'm really interested to see what you think. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day and speak to you soon. Bye.